Let's talk about digital transformation and how organizations are approaching digital transformation. From what I've seen in my experience, I've seen three kinds of behaviors or strategy in terms of digital transformation. The first one is a conservative one, which I can say it's most of the company who are deploying technology just without any real transformation in terms of how people are gonna change the way they work. I also see sometimes disruptive approach, a big bang approach, where it's more a startup approach when the people are trying to change radically the way they are doing things, and transformative approach, which takes more time and has a plan, and it more than a plan, it's an attitude that is revised along the way. So I sum it up in this drawing, saying that the conservative, if you have to cross a valley, the conservative approach, which means I'm not going to make a lot of effort, I'm just going to use the way I was doing things. Maybe I will modernize my tools to do the transformation. I have the feeling I'm doing the transformation, but I will take the long path to go down the hill and then up the hill. And so people, you can bring a lot of people that way. You can embark all the company, all the organization that way. But obviously, it's painful. It takes a little bit of time too, to walk the way. But at least people don't have to change a lot. There's the disruptive approach, which is to invent something new, totally different than usual, taking risks. Though that's this drawing. And finally, I think the transformative approach is much longer, but it brings more value in the long term. Though there are three ways to approach digital transformation. So what does it mean? First, when you look at the time to market, or the time it takes to do the transformation, if you're very conservative, you don't have to do a lot of things. You just deploy new technology and that's done. If you're disruptive, it takes time to find the right disruption, test and try and error approach of the disruption. So it take a little more time to invent things, because when you're conservative, you just stay you stay with what you're doing. But when you have to be disruptive, then you need to think what pain you're going to solve and find new ways, think out of the box. And finally, the transformative approach, which might take a long time because it's more a journey than going from point A to point B. And from what I've seen, it takes at least 5 years. When you look at the impact on efficiency, you can see that being conservative is not efficient at all. We can see every day where people are losing their time, redoing things, not communicating right, not doing the right things because they're used to it. They often say, I've done that all my life, what would I change? The disruptive approach has a impact on efficiency for sure, and can be really fast if it's successful. But when you really have a long-term efficiency, you need to do digital transformation, especially for big companies, big organizations. Disruptive it's hard when you're big. Maybe if you have a spin-off approach, you can succeed, but it's pretty hard for a big organization to do disruption. In terms of team size, you need to be disruptive. You don't need a lot of people. You don't need a Mexican army. You need to find the right skills and go fast to do it. So you don't need a big team. You need a team who's well aligned, but not a big team. For a transformative approach, you probably need a larger team, because if you want to sustain the change or sustain this digital transformation, then you need to have at least a champions team that will sustain the change, sustain the digital transformation. And when you're conservative, obviously, that's the case today. People are all embarked, even if they don't know what is the purpose of what they're doing, but everybody is involved. In terms of collaboration, you can see today that when you're in a conservative organization, there's not a lot of collaboration. Collaboration is really siloed. People are still using email. They're not sharing with transparency what they're doing. So there are a lot of duplicate efforts, a lot of lost in energy, lost in transition, transformation. When you're disruptive, you have to be collaborative, because you need to be fast on doing things, and you need to be transparent and work with everybody really quickly, and you need to be able to collaborate with the team, and that's what I've noticed with startups. They collaborate quickly, they understand each other really quickly. For organizations that are doing the digital transformation in a transformative way, the collaboration is essential. There's a need, because you're a big organization. You need to align people, you need to make them collaborate, you need to get the bad ideas where they are, and all can't come from the managers or from the top. So you need to embark a lot of people and collaborate within the whole organization. This one I've done it already. So the modern tools need. Often people who are conservative just want a few tools, not to perturb the end users, so they don't deploy them a lot, or if they deploy them, they don't do the change management that goes with it to explain how it can help them to change their work. In a transformative approach, you definitely need more modern tools, and to see what fits the best, because there's not one size fits all, so you don't want to simplify things deploying just a few tools for everybody. But in disruptive approach, you definitely need the best tool for what you need to do, and you need to learn fast those tools, because you need to go fast. That's the principle of a disruption. In terms of risks, obviously, the more risks are taken by the startups who are really disruptive, because when you're disrupting something, a business process, you might fail, and so you take risks because nobody did it before you, and so there's a lot of uncertainty, and that goes with the risk. There are opportunities. So definitely disruptive companies are taking a lot of risks. Conservative, in a way, are taking risks, because not doing anything, not moving fast enough, not having a plan, not having a strategy, expose you at a certain risk. Maybe you feel it's just like Titanic going slowly to the iceberg. You may feel you're secure, you may feel safe, you may feel the iceberg is far. But it will take time, but you can be disrupted, or you can be displaced by the transformative company who change definitely the way they're working, and bringing some extra value and some disruption, but at their level. But mainly, what is key with transformative that you have an approach where change is perpetual, and you're trying to identify all the time where you need to change to be able to change, and it's not change doesn't become an effort; it becomes an attitude or a habit. In terms of expertise needed for the transformation, this definitely, if you're very conservative in your approach, you don't need a lot of expertise, and often for those company, expertise means people knowing deeply one thing, which can be sometimes good, but obviously now we're not able to be very with a lot of expertise in the new world, because the skills you need are so wide that it's impossible. So conservative organizations are not really into developing expertise, or maybe they're developing expertise in some areas, thinking that being very good at one thing will be enough. And unfortunately, those expertises are not needed, or less needed, because now the soft skills are more needed. The capability to learn, for example, is definitely a new skill. So that means you will learn new expertise, but all the time you will change expertise. You won't stay in your expertise. Transformative approach in here is needing more expertise, soft skills, the way to collaborate, the new skills to try and make some error and learn from this error, and change the way you're trying things, and getting some initiatives and stuff like that. So it needs more expertise, not not hard expertise, but more soft expertise. And finally, disruptive needs high expertise in terms of, for example, technical expertise. You need to recruit the best people to manage a disruption, because they're really fast to develop a new product. They're really knowledgeable, but also you need to have people who are able to assemble those technical expertise, and the soft skills expertise, where you need to explain it well, you need to address the market quickly, you need to disrupt your competitors. What I've noticed in a lot of organizations, especially big organizations, the number of managers are really low in a disruptive environment, because most of the time it doesn't matter what your role is. It's what matters is the output, the success, the results, especially in the disruptive world, because you don't care about if you're managed or not. You care if the customers is buying your offering, or your product, or your service. So definitely here you need less manager, and it's often flat organization. And in a transformative organization, what I've seen, the people are decreasing when they're starting a digital transformation. They're decreasing the number of layers of management to make things more efficient. They have to work with managers, because digital transformation is also a matter of management transformation, because when you're in the middle of a digital transformation as a manager, you're gonna be impacted because there will be some concept like transparency, respect the errors, and foster people to learn. It's a big change for managers. So what I've noticed is there are less and less management layers. I still have some manager because you need managers to lead the way and to not control the output. Even if you still need to do that. But a manager is more a leader, showing the way. So he has to have some skills too, because he need to be trusted by his peers, his managers. And the conservative approach is what we have experienced for years, and the number of managers have been increased a lot, and often in order to control the global output. No surprise here for innovations. When you're conservative, there's not a lot of innovations coming out of the execution. I will say here, for a conservative approach, you have more businessmen. For a transformative approach, you have more people who are able somehow to not reinvent completely their process or the way they're working, but somehow have an impact on how to do things faster, better with their crew. And disruptive company have to innovate all the time. One good example is when you can easily, in the tech environment, in the digital environment, you can easily see what companies are conservative, transformative, or disruptive. Because, for example, a conservative company will develop a product and just be fine with it, and especially when it's a monopoly, and they won't bring so much value because it works. It brings a lot of money. A transformative approach, they will strive maybe every 3 years to innovate a little bit and bring some value here and there. But the disruptive approach, it's totally different attitude, a different way to envision the service, the product, because they're trying to disrupt themselves. And so when they invent a new thing, maybe 1, 2, 3 years after, they will reinvent something to disrupt themselves, so they won't be disrupted by somebody else. So they need to constantly revise their strategy and better understand the customer needs, the velocity of the business, what's going on in the world, to be able to adapt to the new world. In terms of employees retention, we can see that in a conservative organization, people are not, especially young people, are not staying then. Maybe I will say, I don't remember the average, but I will say within 3 years you have a good chance that people are going to leave the company because they come for experience, because they know that now it's totally different than for their parents or their grandparents. For the grandparents, the job was a life job. They knew they could make a career and climb the ladder. It takes time, but they had a chance. For the parents' generation, let's say Gen X, that was different, because the people didn't have they knew that they might have to change from time to time their company, but for a disruptive organization, you can see that the disruptive organization are sometimes they are losing people because they disrupt themselves. So, so for the younger generation, you find a lot of younger people in disruptive environment because they want to do both things. They want to learn from experience, but also they want to grow somewhere else pretty quickly. So in general, what I've seen might not be always true. It's not back up with data here, but it's perception, my perception. Conservative approach, conservative organization are having a lot of people going out the company because they know that they're not going to be able to stay there for long, especially because they have deep expertise in one domain, and then the domain is obsolete, and then they have to leave because they're not in this learning mode. Disruptive are leaving too because it's younger generation. They want to go have a great experience in disruptive environment. They want to change the world, and then they realize that they will do better somewhere else. But a transformative approach will definitely help organizations to keep their employees in place because it's a perpetual change. So people have always new opportunities with new fields. The alignment approach, for the different approach is key, especially for disruptive company who have to be totally aligned on what they're doing. They cannot be siloed in any way. They need to be almost they're aligned with their customers more than internally, but also they need to be aligned internally to be sure that they have a great understanding of what's going on and what are the hurdles and how to fix them, and quickly. Transformative approach, there's a need of alignment. You don't want to create silos, and a conservative approach, there's definitely a lot of silos because of the inertia. And transparency is also a new value in digital transformation, working more transparently. Definitely in the conservative world, you will find that the culture is often difficult to change because this new concept of transparency is hard for some people, especially for management. Though some conservative company like the Titanic, they don't want any transparency. They don't communicate all the goals, the purpose. They don't even have a vision statement. Transformative, you need more transparency for sure. Definitely, you need to have a clear purpose. You need to share the purpose. You don't have to share everything, every decision. You don't want to spend too much time to explain everything. But what is important is to communicate transparently when it reassures the employees. When you're in disruptive organization, then everything is transparent. You need to explain everything to everybody so it's clear, and you need to be concise so you won't spend too much time on re-explaining anything. And also you might not explain everything all the time because you put people in place so they're responsible of what their outcome is. You just need to make sure that when there are needs of collaboration, everything is transparent, so the best decisions are made. And finally, you need to have a change the world attitude. For a disruptive environment, if you're not passionate, if you don't want to change the world, if you don't want to have an impact, it's going to be hard. For a transformative, you also need to rely on people who are willing to be engaged, shift some lines, have an impact on some business, even if it's a traditional business. And for conservative organization, it's hard to find those people. Maybe there are a few, but it's hard to scale that. So that was a few slides on the digital and transformation approaches, being disruptive, being transformative, or being conservative. There's not a perfect world. I'm not saying that it's easy to be transformative. It's definitely, it takes time and effort, but it's a matter of strategy. And sometimes disrupting can be the best strategy, but the bigger you are, the most difficult it is. Hope it was helpful.